Happy Sunday, everybody. This is Zach Said It Again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and this is the podcast of the year, ladies and gentlemen. We had him last year. He came back to talk to me again this year. James, thank you so much. Mr. James Gregory, the funniest man in America, is on the phone with me. Thank you so much, James, for doing this for me.
And thank you. I appreciate your time and your effort. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to know you and to say that I have your number in my phone, and I don't call you, but I tell people I am personal friends with the funniest man in America. So,
yeah, I will tell you that your listeners will let them know that even though we're friends, you still won't co-sign.
That's right. That's right. Yes, indeed. So you've had to cancel some dates this year. We've been worried about you, been praying for you. So how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm real good. I'm out and about and moving, and also, sometimes I'm moving a little slow, but still moving.
That's right. That's right. And you are moving on February 3rd, Marion, Virginia, which is 25 miles from my hometown where you're talking to me right now. And
it's on a Thursday.
Oh, that's third. I had the wrong date. What's the date?
February the 3rd.
But I had the date, but it is on a Thursday night. Okay.
Wow.
All right.
At the Lincoln Theater.
Yes, and you were there last year. I had front row seats this time last time, and I went to get tickets, and the front row seats were all gone, and I need front row seats for my wheelchair. So when I emailed your people, Lenny and Sheila, I said, well, I don't have tickets to the show, but can I still interview him? And that your people were so nice. They said, oh, no, we can't have that. We'll get you some tickets. So they've got me in the front row and off to the side. So
that sounds good. I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, so I will be there with my family, and I'm so glad to see that you've come back to Marion. Obviously, that the Southwest Virginia region has been very receptive to your shows. Are you going to make this an annual trip?
I hope we do. Yes, I do, because there's so many cities around the country, especially in the Southeast, that I go to on an annual basis.
Right.
I'd love to go to Marion once a year. Yeah.
Well, that would certainly be great for us, great for our community. I know it's something that we're very much looking forward to. Has the time off gave you any chance to get some new material, or are we just going with some of our old fan favorites?
Well, this is very interesting that you asked me that question, okay?
All right.
And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get a kind of a kick out of this type question, okay? Is that if you were interviewing a singer, let's say a country music artist, if you were interviewing like a Kenny Chesney, or you were interviewing Bruce Springsteen, okay, would you ask that artist, are you going to sing any old songs, or you got any new songs?
Well, you know what? I knew that's what you were going to say. Well, you know what? I'm a writer, and I plan ahead. So you know, I probably would be one of those to do that. Yeah.
Now, the answer to your question is this, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, there's always a lot of old stuff, and then there's some new stuff mixed in with it.
Right.
But keep in mind now that the people who will see me on February the 3rd are not exactly every single person that was at the show the last time.
That's true.
The way the percentages work is the overwhelming percentage of the audience will be there for the first time, and some of the people, they've seen the show before. So you try to please everybody. You try to make sure that the show is completely funny, hysterically funny, and make sure that everybody leaves the show being glad they came to the show. And here's something interesting about the business that I'm in.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes people will be talking to me maybe at the lobby or in the parking lot or something after the show. To those who have seen the show before, or they might have seen the show at another venue or another city. And they are the ones who get on to me. They'll say, "You didn't do that routine about so-and-so."
Right.
They will complain because I didn't do one of the old routines that they wanted.
They have well, you're like a rock star. You have a list of greatest hits, and they expect, those hits to come off.
Right. Exactly.
And also, you have always traveled with great opening acts. Dan McGinney was with you last year. Is that his name?
Yes, he was.
Will he be returning with you this time, or do you want to say?
I think that I will be with Vinny Coppola.
Okay. That's a new one that I have not seen. So.
He's just like, he's kind of like Dan. The guys that I work with, I've known these guys for 20, 25 years.
Right.
And they are hysterically funny. And if not, they wouldn't be as part of my show.
Exactly. Well,
for some reason, Jack, it seems like most of them, they're always like Italians. Again, Italian, Vinny Coppola, Italian. So
yeah, that does seem to be the flavor of the day, if you will. I'm not sure. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good observation. But they're all.
I think it's just coincidental.
You're right.
That the two or three guys that I use as part of my act, part of my routine, are Italian. There was Vinny Coppola, Dan McGinney, Steve Angola. Yeah. I always tease them. I said, "You're not part of the mafia, are you?"
Right. Well, those might be the kind of guys you want to be buddies with. So they have you back anyway.
That's right.
But they don't know how to order in these truck stop diners. These young things. And I think of you every time I go through the line at Bojangles, because I order my specialty. I tell them I don't want wings, I want drumsticks.
That's right.
Because
That's exactly right.
as we discussed last time, I'm wheelchair bound, so those drumsticks are handy for me to pick up. I don't have to have somebody debone the chicken for me, So he pulled.
I just love chicken.
Yeah, I do too, but it's much easier for me to eat it if it's a drumstick. And so then I pull up in the line, and he said, "Oh, I don't have any wings, but I'm giving you extra breast." And I wanted to say, "Well, I don't have any real cash, but I have this Monopoly money. Can I give you that?" But we can't now. We can't get. Not only can we not get the chicken legs, we can't get the eggs either. Eggs are like gold now. I wanted to ask you, because being a comedian is so very natural to you, and obviously there is some. As a comedian, you have to craft your act. You have to know how to deliver and when to deliver and that sort of thing. But you seem like just somebody that I would just want to sit out on the front porch and eat chicken with,
I think that's a reason that the audience enjoys the show so much, and the reason that people keep coming to see the show over the past 35, 40 years is because it's what some people call down home humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that people can relate to. We can relate to it, you know. We all have crazy relatives, and we all have some neighbors we're not too crazy about, you know.
Right. Or as you say in the act, the relatives we hope we don't see too often.
Yeah. And hanging out on the front porch with your relatives and telling stories. And, yeah.
And that's where your stories come from, is your real life, the life you've lived.
I think that's why the people enjoy the show.
Right.
It's because sometimes as I'm performing, I see, the people in the front part of the auditorium, as I'm talking, they're nodding their head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which kind of means that they know what I'm talking about.
they get exactly what you're talking about. And especially in the South, because, you know, I've lived in Southwest Virginia all my life, and there's a very Mayberry quality to your material. Material that you can bring the whole family to see. In fact, when my 8-year-old daughter found out that I had gotten tickets to the show, she said, well, they better have given you 3 tickets. And I said, no, honey, they just gave me 2. And she said, well, you better order me a ticket. So guess who's sitting up front with me while her mama has to sit 1 row back?
Well, I'm telling everybody, this is a completely family-friendly show. Whether you're 8 years old, 18, or 80. You can come and enjoy the show.
Yeah. But a lot of things that you say are very philosophical. I would go so far as to say you could almost be a preacher as easy as you could be a comedian, because the things that you are telling your audience, even through being funny, you're telling us things that we need to hear, that we need to slow down and appreciate the most important things in life, which is our family and our homes.
Yeah, and to have something that our parents or grandparents had, and that's called common sense.
Yep. And there is a woeful absence of that in the world today.
Yes.
So I think that, as I said, you not only do you laugh, but you also come away feeling encouraged at one of your shows, or at least I certainly have.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
You know, to feel a little better about life, because, you know, you've obviously had a lot of health problems, but you're not going to hear you talk about it on stage. You know, my life is not easy being in this wheelchair, but I'm very blessed, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you about all my troubles. We're going to have a conversation and you know, have a good time talking, hopefully. And that's what you do, I believe, for your audiences, is you take them away from the things that they may be worried about in life. At least you've done this for me, and I come away feeling encouraged, or feeling that I can face the next day a little better because of one of your shows.
And I keep all the politics away from the stage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people should go to see a show, especially a comedy show, and have a comedian come on stage and start talking about what's going on in the news or the politics. So I think people come to the show to get away from all that political stuff, because they see that 24 hours a day. The news is on 24 hours a day, and you have what is a late night talk show where comedians, all they want to talk about is what's going on in Washington, D.C., the president, the former president, I don't get involved in all that.
Right. Right. And I got to tell you, if your material revolved around that, you'd lose me, because I don't watch the news a whole lot. I find it very depressing. If there's something I need to know, somebody will let me know about it, you know.
Right.
It's because, I mean, you have to have a thick skin anymore to watch a 30-minute news program. And if it just brings you down and there's not anything you can do about it, why waste your time, you know? That's again why I appreciate what you do, and because what you're talking about might have happened 50 years ago, but it's still relevant today for some of us, because that's either the way we live life, or that's the way we want to live life.
Yeah, it all makes sense to me.
Yep. And but anyway, when you were becoming a comedian, and we talked last time about the different comedians that you watched on the Ed Sullivan Show, Alan King and Jack Benny and those. Was there a point in time when you were coming into your career that you thought, I believe I could make a living at this, or did it just kind of happen for you?
It just kind of happened, quite frankly, to be honest with you. It just kind of happened. I had always loved comedy. I especially loved stand-up comedians, but I never thought that I would be in the business or be a comedian, you know. And then when the comedy club opened up in 1982, in Atlanta, Georgia, that was the first time a place opened where you could see live stand-up comedy.
Right.
So out of Heartland in the Southeast, those places did not exist.
Right.
And shows were Tuesday through Sunday, and Tuesday was amateur night or open mic night, you know. And I had friends who kept daring me to go on stage because they thought I was funny, you know.
Right.
And then one thing led to another, and then you've heard the expression, the starving years. There was a few starving years, but it all worked out just great.
Right. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. In those struggling days when you were starving, just trying to get people to know your name, what kept you going and said, well, I really think I can do this, so I'm going to see it through? What?
Just a gut feeling. A gut feeling that I could make it work, you know, because I know my starving years, I used to drive to Oklahoma, for example, when I was an open act.
Right.
The shows Tuesday through Sunday, you do 9 shows, because there's one show Tuesday, one Wednesday, one Thursday, 2 Friday, 3 Saturday, 1 Sunday. And I was making $400 a week. It took me 2 days to get there because I couldn't afford to fly.
Right.
So those years were the rough ones, you know. But I was determined to make this thing happen.
Right. At what point, I mean, did you have that gut feeling early on? Or at what point did you decide, this is what I want to do, I can make this work?
Well, not early on, not the very first moment.
Right.
I went on stage. But after being around some comedians and get a chance to host the show there locally, and I would see other comedians who were making lots of money, and they were very successful, and they were nice guys, but I didn't think they were any funnier than I am. And I used to say, if they could make it, then I could make it.
Right, and I would agree.